Okay. Welcome everyone. My name is Manuel Figueroa. I'm the chair of the Department of Integrative STEM Education. I've been at the college now since 2013. And we wanted to create an alumni panel for you, mainly because I can think back to this point in my life and thinking about like what college I wanted to do, what I wanted to do as a career. And one of the things was just checking out the different programs and figuring out what the right fit was for me. And I didn't necessarily know where that would take me. But I think having an alumni panel here is a good idea because we get to hear from some of our former students who are now working in the field, either as a STEM teacher or as a technology and engineering teacher. And I think you're going to hear about the different experiences and all the different types of opportunities that are available to you. And really how being at TCNJ kind of shaped their trajectory. So let me go ahead and introduce everyone. After that, I'll tell you a little bit about the program and our two majors. And then I'm going to ask the panelists a few questions. And then after that, I'll give you a chance to ask questions that you might have yourself. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. And Jason, could you introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. So my name's Jason Erdrich. I actually grew up in Philadelphia and graduated from high school just outside of Philadelphia. So I was an out-of-stater at TCNJ. After leaving the College of New Jersey, I immediately started working in Madison, New Jersey. So kind of just about 45 minutes out of New York City, which I'm still at now. And I teach 6 to 8 technology, engineering, design, which is anything from 3D design, woodworking, multimedia, graphics, robotics, a little bit of everything to prep them for the high school programs, as well as I am the K-12 STEAM coordinator. So I oversee all of the curriculum instruction for those integrated subject areas. And from the slide, a fun fact is that my intramural volleyball team, Vollywood, and my cardboard boat regatta team were really some of my greatest achievements. And I forgot about that. So this slide's a nice little reminder for that. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Jason. Elizabeth, how about you?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth, or Liz West. I grew up in Monmouth Beach, on the shore, if you call it. I was an elementary and istem education major. It started as MST when I was there, and then it changed in my career. And then I got hired to teach 6th grade science at Long Branch Middle School, and I'm still there today. I also teach a Project Lead the Way automation and robotics elective class to prepare kids for the high school engineering courses. And my fun fact from college is I was on the women's basketball team during 4 years, and that helped inspire me to now I am a high school basketball coach.
Awesome. Thank you, Liz. Megan Zumo, how about you?
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Zumo. I majored in technology and engineering education. I'm from Wantage, New Jersey, which is in Sussex County, which is pretty far up north. So if you look at the very top of New Jersey, it's all the way up there. My senior project was an automatic wire cutter for a STEM classroom. And I currently teach at Freehold Township High School. And one of my fun facts is that my teacher in high school went to TCNJ, and he kind of inspired me to become a tech ed teacher.
Great. Thank you, guys. So these are our panelists, and what I'll do is I'll tell you a little bit about our program. So we have two majors. And one of them is the technology and engineering education major. That one prepares you. Most of those students end up teaching middle school and high school, but it really gives you an ability to teach across all K through 12 levels. And then we also have the integrative STEM major, which has a focus on elementary, but most, I would say, end up getting middle school math and science endorsements to teach in those grade levels. At the same time, you have the ability to get the technology endorsement, which then also allows you to teach through high school. So it's a really good deal. So in essence, whatever major you choose, you are able to teach all across pre-K through to 12th grade. So it's a really nice field. Um, our majors are really in high demand. I mean, it's not unheard of to hear of students getting offers before they graduate to teach, maybe even before their senior year, which is crazy. Um, these two majors are in high demand. There's a lot of reasons for that. But one of them is because we really want to stay competitive in the STEM fields. And I think teaching about these topics can really encourage students to when they pursue those. Um, the technology and engineering education major, that program focuses a lot on those skills and the content areas related to technology and engineering. And then the focus there is on the upper level grades of school. The integrative STEM focuses across the 4 STEM disciplines. And it's integrative because we don't teach science and math in silos. We really feel that our curriculum shows you how to integrate everything together. And that allows you to talk about or teach about real world applications. The integrative STEM major focuses on the elementary levels. And again, both majors are really marketable across the whole state and region. Real quick, I'll tell you that our facilities have gone through a renovations. We got the new STEM building, and we also have renovated our 112 classroom. Sometimes people or parents remember this classroom, and now it's totally redone. And we like to teach in this classroom to give students an opportunity to see what it's like to be like a teacher. And we'll record them many times, and we'll give them feedback about their lessons and their teaching performance, all in preparation. The nice thing is that our courses focus on the STEM disciplines, but we really have the educator in mind. So whether we're talking about electrical circuits or Young's modulus for breaking some type of material, I like to think that all of our professors really try to focus on, well, how will you do this at the K through 12 level? What are some ways that you can convey this advanced information at the K through 12 level? And that's one of the nice things about TCNJ. We are a smaller institution where you get to meet your professors and you get to work with your professors. So I think you'll also find the ability to learn how to use all the machines, whether it's in the wood shop, in the maker space, and even in the metal shop. With some supervision, you can use any of the machines in our department. And there's also opportunities for research, to work closely with a professor over the summer. And whether it's about something related to science and maybe even nanotechnology, or maybe it's related to the best way to teach students about human-centered design, or the best way to incorporate an integrative pedagogy in your class. You can really work with many faculties depending on what you're interested in. So let me stop the talking, because I could probably continue talking for a while. And I rather get a chance, give our panelists a chance to talk about their experience while they were at TCNJ, and tell you a little more about what they're doing now. So let's get started. Let's see. This is for everyone, and I'd like you guys to talk a little bit about how you became interested in the field of STEM and technology and engineering. I mean, did you know you wanted to do this when you started out, when you graduated from high school? Liz, do you want to go first?
Sure. I actually applied to TCNJ to be just a math teacher. I got my schedule and I had about 3 out of my 4 classes were high-level math classes, and I kind of panicked. But I was a high school senior and I went to go tour the campus as a basketball recruit. And I got to stay with one of my teammates, and she had one of Dr. Cathel's classes for MST. And I got to go visit the class with her. And after sitting in the class for one session, I immediately went and changed my major to like what was called MST at the time, and never looked back. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience, or else I might have just had a degree in math education and not had as much fun as I've had in the past few years.
Nice, nice. Megan, how did you end up finding our major?
So I actually didn't originally start my college career thinking I was going to be a teacher. My brother is an engineer, and I took engineering classes. I took tech ed all throughout high school, and I was like, I'm going to be an engineer. That's what I'm going to do. And I started school, didn't like it, didn't start at TCNJ, wasn't really for me, engineering. And then I went to community college for 2 years and transferred into TCNJ. And it was at that point where my high school teacher, when I was in high school, had always told me, like, you would be a great tech ed teacher. You'd be amazing at this. Like, you should really think about it, look into it. And I was like, no, I'm going to be an engineer. And I came back and I was like, yep, you were right. Like, that's what I was supposed to do. And actually, like, ironically enough, my junior experience that I had at TCNJ was at Freehold Township High School. So I started there, and then they asked me to come back to do my student teaching. And then immediately after graduating, I got a job there. So everything kind of just fell into place, which was really cool.
Thank you, Megan. Jason, how about your experience?
Yeah, I think like everyone here, I just bounced around a lot. When I was in high school, I worked pretty much full time as a senior and a junior at an automotive shop and at a graphic arts silk screening print shop outside of Philadelphia. And I always just imagined myself going into trades and just, working with my hands and just building things. And my senior year at high school, I kind of did a co-op where I had that industry experience, and I was put into a leadership role by my high school teacher at the time, where I was teaching younger students how to use the machine shops and all that stuff. And he was like, if you didn't want to own your own business and if you didn't want to work in the trades, you would be a phenomenal teacher teaching people how to do the things that you enjoy. And Philadelphia is really not very far from TCNJ. So he brought me over and introduced me to some of his old colleagues that still work there, Dr. K, and many of our former professors and things. And I just kind of really fell in love with it. I love the fact that it covers so many different things, so many different content areas, and so diverse. And I get to just share what I love to do with everybody. And after my first practicum experience, I knew it was just where I wanted to be.
Jason, and just to follow up on that, you mentioned some of your favorite professors and courses. Can you tell a little more? Can you tell everyone a little bit about what was your favorite class or academic experience?
I'm glad you asked that, because I think that's the most important thing when you're in college, is just making connections with, your friends, your peers, your professors, and meeting all these people. And TCNJ, as you mentioned earlier, is a relatively small school when you consider other larger schools, and you really do get to meet your professors at a personal level and as well as academically, which was great. I remember connecting so much with our adjunct faculty. So our adjunct faculty are usually people that work full time and do what I do, are teachers. And then they teach night classes at TCNJ. And I remember those being some of the most valuable experiences, because they would come to TCNJ after a long day of work in their classrooms and give you just like firsthand connections with what happened that day. And every single takeaway I immediately was able to apply into my classroom when I left. And I'm still in very close contact with many of those adjunct professors. And just as a reference of like, hey, looking for a new project idea, what are you up to? And those types of connections with all of our professors. But I remember the adjunct courses where they were so immediately applicable. When I was in school, I always asked, like, why do I need to know this? And it was nice that in college, and when I had those classes, I didn't have to ask that, because it was just immediately like, yes, this is how this relates to my future career. And that was a pretty awesome experience.
Cool. Megan, how about you? Kind of like a favorite class or academic experience that.
I I don't think I could pinpoint a class. I really just liked everything about being in Armstrong. It was kind of like a home. Like all of my classes were there. Everyone that I talked to at TCNJ was there for the most part. And just like I also worked in Armstrong for TSA, so I was always in there in general. So just being able to be like working on my assignments, like walk to your office, ask you a question, walk to Dr. Cathell, ask him a question, just like having professors that like were available to you, and any class, every class was fun. So I can't pick one, but just like that experience of knowing that like you can walk down the hall and really get a good answer and your professors actually care about you was huge. And like I was really sad walking out of Armstrong the last day when I graduated. Like it was terrible. It's still like seeing pictures, it makes me like tear up a little bit because I wish I could go back.
Oh my God, yeah, the the feeling's mutual. Now, were you also weren't you a lab supervisor one of the years? How did you come into that position?
I don't know exactly how it happened, but I think that Joe asked us one day, or someone was like, hey, do you want to work in the wood shop? And I was like, yeah, that would be great. So we were lab techs. We worked in the wood shop, supervising other students that came in, helping them work with different machines, and also learning a little bit about the machine shop in the process, which is obviously totally different now because it's in a different building, correct? But it was just fun to learn all the machines and just be around them and feel more comfortable with them. Like I wouldn't have gotten that experience anywhere else where someone trusted me to help them learn a machine, and you guys trusted us, and it was just a good like it was a good confidence building for teaching also.
Great, great. Liz, how about some of your favorite classes or experiences, academic experiences?
I definitely enjoyed any STEM class that I took. Like you said, Armstrong was always the best experience all around. But one class that really took me by surprise, I didn't take it until my senior spring, was Dr. Madden. Now that I'm a science teacher, looking back, it was how to teach science in an informal setting. So talking about like field trips and museums and stuff like that. And it's never something I really thought about. When you think about teaching, it's always the traditional, like in a classroom, here's your curriculum, teach it. So to be able to take a class where you got to really think outside the box, it really brought the whole idea of STEM and being creative and innovative and solving problems and not necessarily being confined by the four walls of a classroom, was definitely a really enriching experience.
Yeah, I think we really value those informal learning experiences. I know, and that's because learning happens everywhere, whether it's in the classroom or the museum. I know that we like to, I like to take my students to even science fairs and science festivals and kind of give them that chance to, talk to a second grader about, what gravity means or, something like that. Liz, now you were an istem major or MST before we changed the
I
name.
was say it was istem by the time I graduated.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience was? Did you take all of your courses with us, or how did you feel as an istem major with the curriculum?
So when I started out, I felt like it was mainly the core, like math. I took some math classes. I took MST and MTT, so the methods of teaching science and math. But then, so you had the background of the core content because I was getting certified in middle school math and middle school science. So I had to take enough of those courses to fulfill those requirements. But then I got to actually explore with the other like structures and mechanics and technical drawing and other classes that helped build the whole iSTEM degree program. And it was really a nice way to it wasn't really a specific, you learned everything about one subject. It was nice that I felt like when I left, I had enough knowledge of all the different contents that I could really bring a lot to the table with whatever teaching job I ended up getting, whether it was math or science or some type of STEM teaching job, that I had enough of an experience in each of those contents that I felt capable of pursuing whatever job was available at the time.
Oh, okay. Great, great. And then, oh, let me switch it to Megan. Besides academic experiences in the classroom, did you feel like there were any other informal experiences or social experiences that helped you kind of be better prepared for your teaching position?
So one thing that was huge, which I guess it was kind of still educational, but I participated in TICA. Like I competed at TICA for manufacturing, and we went to nationals. And that, I mean, it was educational in the sense of we worked as a team to make something for our class, to make something together, but it was also social, like our group together, spending the time together, planning, making things, traveling. Like we traveled all over the place. And it was just really fun to be with people who enjoyed the same thing. And you were still learning, but you were having a lot of fun at the same time, which just talking to people in general, being social and like understanding people really helps your teaching career, because the more you know about people, the better teacher you're going to be, because you're going to understand people better.
And that was in Virginia Beach, right?
Yeah, Virginia Beach. And then we went to Washington one year and we went to Texas the other year. And it was just so fun. Like those like memories pop up on my phone all the time. And all of us are messaging back and forth, like, remember this? I wish we could go back. And it was just a really great experience.
Jason, how about you? Some of the other experiences that you think really prepared you for teaching career?
Campus jobs. I remember when I was leaving high school working, trying to figure out how could I keep up and, be on top of things financially. Obviously that's on everyone's mind when you're applying to college. And I didn't realize how many campus jobs there are. So for the School of Engineering, like Megan, I worked as a lab tech and, got paid, and I got to be there and work on my own stuff for that. I worked for the Department of Res Ed and Housing as their official photographer and their multimedia social media person. And I remember I was tutoring officially for the college and giving tours officially for the college. And all of those really, it gave me a chance to kind of contribute to the real world and the society of the campus, and not only get to learn more about TCNJ and meet more people, but just kind of put myself in a working environment, as a student, which was something I was a little concerned with applying, to make sure I was able to do that. And having those experiences and having so many options. The amount that students are involved in the TCNJ community with making the college run is awesome. I mean, you have ownership of your school. It really is. You're part of like the whole family. And like that college would obviously relies on all the incredible employees that are there and all the incredible professors, but the students really do contribute to that. And I think that was just a really awesome experience that had nothing to do with my actual major or my grades,
Yeah, I'll echo that. I can think of many committees that I've been in as part of the college. There's always like a student representative, whether it's a junior or sophomore, because, as professors, sometimes we need to hear the other point of view, right? Which is the most important, the student's point of view. Liz, so what about some of your other experiences? I mean, I know you were on the basketball team, and I'm kind of curious how you managed it all.
Yeah, it was a tough transition for sure, because the season starts pretty much the beginning of October, and then we're not done until almost March. So it's pretty much almost the entire school year. So I had about a month to get acclimated with my classes and everything, and then tryouts, and the season started right away. But I definitely think, even though, like you said, it's not anything academic, but it definitely helped me, building those relationships with my teammates and learning how to work as a team. I think being a teacher in many schools, I know the smaller ones, not as much, but I'm in a very big district, and you're constantly working with grade level teams or PLCs or departments. And I think just learning how to work with other people is a skill that is really important as a teacher. And unfortunately, not all teachers are very good at it. So it's definitely something that I definitely valued from my time playing basketball. Time management was another big thing. I had to learn how to, schedule my classes. Unfortunately, at the time, I think it's different now, but athletes didn't have priority scheduling. So it was kind of, especially as a freshman, you're the last ones to pick. So it was kind of hard to figure out what time I could schedule classes that wouldn't interfere with practice times. There were some seasons where we had practice at 6 a.m, and then I had to take a shower really quick and head out to 3 classes in a row. So it was definitely a learning experience, being out on my own and having to manage my time and make sure I got all my assignments done and everything. So that's definitely a skill I valued from that experience as well.
Absolutely. Well, good. So I do want to talk about some of those skills that you guys now use, but I think before we do that, how was it applying for a job? Liz, do you mind telling us a little bit like how you got your interviews and how that went, and how did you eventually pick out your final job?
So yeah, I got hired the fall right after graduation. So I spent all summer interviewing, and all the interviews I got were for math teaching positions, which is ironic looking back now as a science teacher, that I don't think I would enjoy teaching math as much. But it was definitely a learning process for sure. The first interview you go on that you don't get, you're kind of heartbroken a little bit. And then I slowly started to learn that the more interviews you go on, the more confidence you gain in them. The first one's always hard, but you learn, what kind of questions they're going to ask and the type of answers that you are prepared to answer. And then the job that I have now, I actually got the Friday of Labor Day weekend. Someone retired last minute, and I had applied for a math position, and they realized they needed a science teacher, and I had decided to send in my resume in the mail, even though they asked us to apply online, but I hadn't heard anything back. So I said, maybe they didn't see it. I put it in the mail. The day that teacher resigned, my resume was on the table, and they saw my science certification, and it happened just like that. So I don't know if you want to call that luck or intuition, but I'm glad I did it. And I'm definitely glad. Be. Yes, for sure.
Good. Oh, before we go to the next person, Liz, so you were istem. Can you remind us what was your primary major?
So like my specialization, or?
No, so you were you elementary istem?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So the reason I bring that up is because in the istem program, you have it's a double major.
Right.
And Liz, why don't you tell us about how that works?
Yeah, so I know there's I had, like you said, double majored in elementary education and istem. I'm not sure what the other options besides elementary education. You might know a little bit better on that, but I know then once you pick istem, you then pick a specialization. So like what kind of degree certifications you're looking to get. So that was my specialization, was math. But I was also able to come out with math and a science certification with that double major. So I am certified K to 6, and then also with those 2 middle school certs.
Right. Yeah, and then as an istem major, you can also come in as urban education. I mean, I see that on the chat window. So as you can come in as an urban education, and then your second major would be istem. Mm-hmm. You can also come in as special education, and then you can choose your second major as istem, or elementary or early childhood education, or deaf and hard of hearing. All those programs allow you to have a second major as istem. I mean, and there's other things too, like as a education major in elementary education, you can pick a concentration, whether it's English or history or social science. istem is the one that our program corresponds to. So that's built as a second major. Megan, back to that question about jobs. How did you land your first job?
So I originally didn't have a job offer at Freehold Township. They didn't have any openings, which was really sad for me because I did my student teaching there. I had been there basically for all of my experiences. So I was hoping they would have an opening. and I was about to graduate. They didn't have anything. So I went on a bunch of other interviews. And as a tech ed major, there was a ton of jobs, middle school, high school, like there's a lot of openings. And I got offers on almost every interview I went to, which was crazy because a lot of my other teacher friends were like, wow, like you got that offer, you got offered for that and that. And I was like, there's really not a ton. At the time, there was 5 of us that graduated from TCNJ. So I got offers. Then I kind of had to go back and be like, I'm sorry, I got a higher offer. Then people would bump their offer. And I was like, oh my gosh. But I went on a middle school interview, a couple of those, and then high school. I knew I wanted to teach high school, but I figured I would also try at middle schools just to see what was out there. And long story short, right before, I think it was like July or August, Freehold Township called me, and the teacher that I was student teaching with actually got bumped up. His position he ended up being a teacher coach. So they were able to fit me right into the classes that I had already previously taught for student teaching. So it was really, really cool. Obviously, I jumped on that opportunity, but it was kind of crazy to have that many offers. And the interviews, like Liz was saying, the first one, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so nerve-wracking, but you really learn as you go. And obviously getting that call that like you got an offer is going to boost up your confidence as well. So I don't know in terms of istem how the interview process is, but for tech ed, there's a ton of jobs and I got multiple offers when I was looking.
Great, great. Jason, you ended up at Madison Middle School, right? And how did you get there?
Yeah. I mean, I think like Megan, there were just so many jobs. I felt like I was basically being headhunted, which was kind of cool. I actually, I graduated in December, and in, I think November or something, I presented at a conference about like developing a makerspace and just whatever. And I was presenting with other graduates. And at the end, I did a real quick plug saying like, oh, and by the way, it was like a teaching conference. So a bunch of districts were there. I was like, and I'm graduating in just 6 weeks. So if anybody knows of anything, here's my number. And I was just swarmed by people and by schools. And I went on so many different interviews, and I really just got to pick the program that fit me and, you know, where I wanted to live and where I wanted to be. And before that interview, I've never heard of Madison growing up in Philadelphia. This is all new to me up here, but I just fell in love with the program. And they were just so, it's a job in demand. And I think it's going to be for a very long time. So lots of options.
That was a smart move at the presentation.
I don't know if I didn't ask permission to do that, but I figured I could just ask for forgiveness at the end there.
Good. You know, there's a couple other questions that I can ask you, but I want to just give our audience here a couple of questions, you know, a chance to ask a question if they have one. You can either kind of raise your hand, speak up, or you can write it in the chat window if you'd like. We also have someone from admissions here. So if you do have questions about admissions, I know Jenny's here and she can answer some of those questions for you as well. I'll make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Drusilla. Drusilla, is it?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, go ahead. Ask your question.
I have a quick question. So I'm currently a student at Mercer County Community College, and I'm going to be transferring in the spring. And I kind of just wanted to know, like what, because I know some of you, I forget who, but one of the panelists said that she did the 2 years of community college. And I was just wondering, like, what was that transfer process like for you?
That's a really good question. So I totally know how you feel. Like you're at community college, you want to transfer, you're excited, but also it's kind of scary because it's like I'm jumping into something that people they've already been there for 2 years, and it's kind of just nerve-wracking. But I will tell you that these programs, like you're with these people all the time. You get to know everybody really well. Everyone is so friendly. The professors are great. I've had one specific experience, which kind of relates. I just had gotten to TCNJ. It was my first month there, and I ended up getting really sick. And I remember my one professor was like, you can take the time, make this stuff up, like you can do it. And my mom was like, no, you need to just take the semester off. But my professors were like, you can do it, get it to us. They're so encouraging. And I ended up continuing. And it was just like the experience of having people that cared so much. It's different than community college. It's different than other schools. People like I don't know, being together there, like Armstrong, everyone said, is a home. It's comforting. Like you're not going to show up there and feel like you missed anything. You're going to jump in and it's just going to be a really fun experience. And I can almost guarantee it based off the professors, Dr. Figueroa included, they'll all really welcome you with open arms and help you with whatever you need.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and Drusilla, so a lot of, it's possible that a lot of your courses will transfer over. So I think that's one of the things that we'll check once you do the transfer application if you haven't done so already. But we'll get a chance to look at that and see all the courses that will transfer over.
Thank you.
There was another question in the chat window. Can I double major in mathematics secondary education and ISTEM? So the ISTEM major doesn't work with the secondary education math program. However, with elementary, so the reason is because we have our own secondary education program, which is a technology and engineering education. So that's our secondary education program. However, many of our elementary education students will specialize in mathematics. And what that path does is it allows you to get a middle school endorsement to teach middle school math or science. And that's what a lot of our students do. They're able to teach middle school. Now, if you do want to do high school, there's a certain number of math courses that you need. So in that case, if you do want to teach math at the high school level, then you would need the secondary education major. Liz, I don't know if you wanted to add to that because you're teaching and you're teaching science, but you might know a little bit about the math endorsement to teach middle school.
Yeah, I just remember that there were a few classes built into the STEM curriculum that counted towards the math endorsement. But then the other ones, I think a lot of them are similar to the ones that you take for secondary education for math. You just don't go as high into some of those classes like calculus and like linear algebra and stuff like that. So you take some of those baseline classes, but you don't go as high up in the levels as the secondary ed courses would take you.
That's right. Good questions. Good questions. Okay. Let me ask another one. Okay. So now that you guys are, teaching in New Jersey schools, I wonder, gee, this year has been really challenging, I guess. But so how have you adapted? What is the first teaching? What is a typical day like for you? Liz, why don't you go first since?
Sure. So yeah, definitely my year now looks a lot different. So at the moment we have some students coming in the building and some are still completely virtual. So we have a shortened day, not truly a half day. We're done at 1 o'clock instead of 2:48, even though they call it a half day. So we have the kids log on from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we do a hybrid where we teach to kids in the room and on the computer at the same time. So it's definitely been a big transition, but studying a lot of istem and learning about, problem solving skills and being innovative definitely has helped take some of the lessons that we already had and just finding a way to do them virtually. There's been a lot of great resources and technology platforms that have, given free trials and things to teachers because they know that everyone's kind of doing the virtual thing right now. So that's been helpful. But yeah, definitely some of the lessons and experiences I've had in those STEM classes have definitely helped with everything that's going on right now.
You guys are true problem solvers. I mean, in action right there. Jason, what about with you? Like, same type of question, but is there anything specially that you learned from our program that has helped with all the challenges of this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. This year, I don't think anyone could have predicted when we were in school. I think that the biggest thing is you kind of have to look at your college year and your career as just at college as a giant tool. Like it's a toolkit. It's just a giant toolbox, right? Because there's so many things that I'm doing in my classroom that I didn't specifically take a class on at TCNJ, but I learned everything I needed to know to kind of adapt, like, just the fundamentals of what I need to know. So that way I was able to then implement it in my own room. And I think that being said, same thing for this year. I've spent most of this year, we're not able to be in my shop, just like Liz, that we have kind of a hybrid model. Some of the students are in person, some of the students are fully virtual, but, trying to teach hands-on learning without actually being able to be hands-on and give the kids tools and, share collaborative spaces have been a challenge. So just designing lessons and putting together kits of materials that I'm able to send home and instructional videos and really utilizing technology to make my kids still interested and engaged and connected with the content, and still like kind of walk away feeling like they're learning something. All of that just kind of sort of came naturally. It's a struggle. We had to adapt for sure, but I felt prepared. Overwhelmed, but definitely prepared looking back. And I think that just comes down to all the different experiences I had, all the different classes, all the different professors just kind of sort of contributed to being able to do that.
Great. Megan, how about you?
So to bounce off what Jason said, I also teach classes that I didn't specifically take at TCNJ. So it's something where there's a lot of information out there, and there's no way for you to learn every detail of it, but learning the process of how to learn it and how to figure something out is really what I took away from my classes at TCNJ, which directly helps you right now. Like, we can't teach the way we normally would right now, but how can we do it in a way that's still effective? And we actually at my school just switched back to fully virtual today, which was kind of heartbreaking to me because I miss my students. Today was a rough day to not have some of them in my classroom. But just being able to kind of like roll with it, like, okay, I have this job and how can I figure out how to do it and do it the right way and make it fun? And it's kind of what we do, what we did in our classes at TCNJ. It was fun, we learned stuff, and now we have to apply what we learned and teach our students.
Great. Okay, so let's see. What about how do you guys feel about your general lifestyle in general? I mean, now, you're not college students anymore, but now you have a career. And Megan, maybe I'll start with you. Like, how does your job affect your general lifestyle, or what's new now?
So first of all, my job is really fun. That's the first thing I tell my students is that, like, we have fun in this class. Like, what I do every day is, like Jason said before, stuff that I genuinely like to do. So I get to do something that I genuinely like every single day, which is cool. I also coach after school. So being a teacher has given me the opportunity to coach, which is something really huge in my life. We don't have our season right now because it's postponed, But in general, I spend a lot of my time coaching. And then obviously we have the summers off, which is awesome. So that gives you opportunities where, I mean, you're staying on a similar schedule to what you've done your whole life. Like in school, you have the summers off. In college, you have the summers off. You have the ability to do something else. So whether it's take extra classes if you choose to, do something like a different job, learn a different skill, maybe you just want to relax. Like it kind of just opens up a lot of opportunities to have your career and do what you really like, but also have some time for yourself. And if you choose to, learn a little bit more in that time.
Great, great. Liz, I know that kind of follows along with some of the things you do too.
Yeah, so I'm also a basketball coach. And like you said, our season is postponed till January for now. We'll see what happens in the future. But yeah, like you said, having the summers off is a great opportunity. I work at a beach club, which is nice extra money and getting to be outside. But then I also was able to join the master's program for the STEM education to get a master's degree. So that was a really good opportunity to be able to take classes in the summer also to further my degree. And I was able to get a supervisor certification. So not that I'm there yet, but when I'm ready to not be in the classroom anymore, that's definitely something that I am interested in. So having that freedom to be able to take courses in the summer, and then I was able to do one in the fall and one in the spring while I was teaching. So I would leave Long Branch and I would drive out to TCNJ and take some of those classes. And it actually really helped because when you're an undergrad, you're taking classes and you have your practicums, but then getting to go back in the graduate program as a full-time teacher, it's kind of nice because you're putting to practice all the things that you're learning right away. So like you learn something on Monday and Tuesday, it's like, oh, let me try that new thing that I learned. And it was really practical and all the stuff we were doing was really relevant to what I was teaching. So that was a really great experience.
Nice, nice. Jason, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with a lot of that. Teaching's hard. You know, the days are hard just because there's a lot to do. But like Megan said, I mean, if you love your job, it doesn't really feel like work. You know, I'm doing something different every period of the day, especially in these fields, you know, especially if you go to the tech ed route. I mean, you're probably going to be teaching a bunch of different things and it's always going to be exciting. There's always going to be something new. And that means that there's always something to prep for and plan for. But if you're loving it and if you're enjoying it, it feels great. And the schedule and the lifestyle, I mean, it's really nice to be able to have that time. I mean, think about when kids are off, you're off. So you get the same long holiday breaks and you get the same weekends and summers and spring breaks. And there's many careers that you don't get that. So it makes, raising a family and traveling and like Megan and Liz said, having other jobs and careers. And I run my own like shop business on the side that I'm able to have time to do and flexible to do. And it just kind of contributes to my career and my lifestyle. And I really couldn't picture myself doing something else.
Great. So we're almost out of time. So I wanted to just give everyone one more chance to ask questions if you have any. Anything that you feel you wanted to ask us. And just, while people are thinking about their questions, my final question to the panelists is going to be to think about your final piece of advice on that you would give future STEM education teachers. So maybe we'll go with that. Who's ready? I think Megan, you look like you're ready. Why don't we do Megan, Liz, and then Jason for this one?
Okay. So my piece of advice, especially if you're going to be someone that does tech ed, would be to not not tell yourself that you don't know something before you try to do it. I feel like a lot of people, like I teach so many different classes, like Jason said. I have video, I have architecture, I have a design class, I have an engineering class, I have a web design class. And there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I did learn at TCNJ. And then a lot of stuff coming out that like you may be asked to teach something that you don't necessarily 100% know, but don't let that like deter you from trying to learn it and trying to better yourself. I've learned so much in the past. When did I graduate? 2017, it's 2020. This is my 4th year teaching. So in the past 4 years, I've learned so much stuff. I learned how to teach 3 levels of a video class, which I'd never had taken a video class. I teach web design, which I knew like coding in terms of like in other terms, but not necessarily in terms of web design. So put yourself out there and use it as a chance to also teach yourself and learn from your experiences, because you're not just teaching students, you're also learning and bettering yourself, which is actually pretty cool.
Okay, great. Liz, how about you?
My one piece of advice would be don't be afraid to take risks. I learned very early on the way that my team was teaching science was very cookie cutter, from the textbook. And I'm pretty sure the textbooks were older than I was. And I was lucky enough to go to the New Jersey Science Convention. And everyone there was talking about project-based learning. And I learned all the stuff I learned from TCNJ. I was able to partner up with one of my teachers in my cohort, and we designed a whole project-based learning unit. And we got so much praise from our supervisors and our principals because we just decided that, the test scores for the kids weren't great and they were looking for something new. So we kind of just took a risk and went for it, and definitely got a lot of recognition for it. So don't be afraid to try new things, especially in the istem fields. There's a lot of room for innovation and creativity. So trust your gut.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Jason.
I really wish I got to go first on this one, but it just sounds like we all kind of are on the same page. So in a different way of saying it, I would just say experience everything. And I mean that in 2 different ways. So whether you're at TCNJ is an incredible campus. And I mean, so many things have been added since any of us have been on campus. There's so many, obviously you're here because you're interested in tech ed and STEM. And I agree with you. They're both awesome options. You should go for it. But there's so many majors and there's so many buildings and there's so many programs. Like, don't feel like you can't walk around and experience something. Go visit the IMM building and just try to learn as much about everything as you can, and like make friends with majors that are in health and exercise science, because those are just really cool connections. Because you might have a student sitting in front of you one day that wants to be a physical trainer. You'd be like, you know what? I knew somebody that went through that program, and you just know something about that. And you're never really going to be able to put your finger on when you need to, reference that or learn that. So experience everything. And even the fact that I was 100% committed that I wanted to teach high school. And then I had one student teaching experience in a middle school, 5th graders, even not even like full middle school. And I just completely fell in love with it. And I haven't, never, ever would have thought. I almost didn't take that just because I thought I knew where I wanted to be, so just try to experience as much as you can and never stop learning new things. Because there's always something else to learn.
Thank you, guys. That's such wonderful advice. I wanted to just share with everyone that's here today that the common application, let's see, early decision is January 1st, and then the general admission application would be due by February 1st. So just, I guess those are 2 important days to keep in mind. Also, you can always email me if you have any questions, about courses, about what the experience might be like. But also if you have engineering questions, it says here, because, we're in the School of Engineering. So you can email admissions and they'll be able to help you with those type of questions. And then visit our website, istem.tcnj.edu. You can also find us on social media, and I have these on here as well because sometimes it's better to get the experience from students too. So I'll throw these on there. And Instagram, you can find us at TCNJ_ISTEM_department. At Twitter, TCNJ_ISTEM. And then we have a Facebook group that you can also join. And our SES group is the STEM Educator Society. So there you can also find them on Instagram and see what they're doing. So those are great choices.